All right, my name's Pat Hill and I'm an alcoholic. Good to be here tonight. It's always an honor to be asked to do anything from Alcoholics Anonymous, even share this horror story of mine. I'm going to try to keep tonight, because it takes me an hour to get past 16 sometimes. So I think if I could just start when I tried to get sober, it'll be enough qualifier. You know, that was at about 16. So I started my sobriety dates April 29th of 2007, and that was a long time after I was introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous, treatment centers, that kind of deal. My home group's Old Time Structure Group in Rockingham, been there for a couple years, really great group. A couple of those folks are here tonight, appreciate them being here. And we meet on Sunday nights at 7 o'clock, it's a speaker meeting, and Wednesday nights 7 o'clock for a closed discussion. Hope you guys will come join us. And we do appreciate the work you guys do carrying your message down there. We've got a little place in Southern Pines now, and a few of you guys are willing to sponsor those men, and we just appreciate all that, because that's certainly why I can be here tonight, is the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's the only reason. I give all the credit to that, because that's what allowed me to find this relationship with a power greater than myself that made all this happen. And that's one thing I'm sure of, is that I am not capable of going from where I was to where I'm at now. And I'm not talking about the things, it's the way I am inside. Just something has happened. And it happened way back, like early on. I got that sponsor finally and started just enthusiastic about working these steps, man. And it's just, when a man been beat bad enough, I kind of like, Chuck C. When I was early on, I'd read that book, New Pair of Glasses. I read it over probably 4 or 5 times, even read it with other guys that were in the halfway house with me. There's something about that book, in there it said, Chuck C. said, we can't see it till we see it, or hear it till we can hear it. And boy, that just rung so true to me, because I sat in a lot of treatment centers. Matter of fact, I hear the same man back there a couple times, And I know the message wasn't no different, but the last time I was hungry, and when you're hungry, you'll eat, and he was throwing out the food. So just to kind of a little bit about my family, I was born, I don't know if God didn't like them or what the deal was, or, if you believe in reincarnation, they're not going to have to do it but once, okay? They get straight to sainthood after this life. Because, and I mean that because I was a bad, oh wow, if you had to raise me, good Lord. It was bad, and I'll let you know just a few things on what they were up against. It's great role models. My mom and dad both were. My brother, I have one older brother, and we were a real tight family. Both of them worked really hard. Brother's the best big brother a guy could ever ask for. I was a terrible little brother. Guy was always let me tag along, give me whatever he had, and I wouldn't share nothing. You know what I mean? So I was always, there's something wrong. That guilt, shame, remorse started with me real early, but I would continue to be selfish and self-seeking and all of those things way before alcohol ever come into the picture. Alcohol is the cure for all of that stuff. And so I guess that's why we like it. But, just wonderful parents really were. But, as early back as I can remember, I knew that something went right with me. Just that inner feeling I hear so many folks speak about, I certainly had it myself. I can't put my finger on it, but I was lacking something in there, that hole in the soul, whatever you want to call it. But I just knew that I didn't have all the skills that I was going to need socially. I could, I always liked sports. That was a big part of my child. Early back, if it was a ball involved, I was ready to go do it. Loved to play rough. And that's kind of my deal. The reason they were going to have such a problem raising me is because I was attracted to everything that they weren't. I was attracted to all my dad's family, great people, but they were certainly alcoholics, and none of them ever made it to these rooms. They're all dead, but those were the people that I wanted to be like, and who the folks, my mom particularly tried to keep me away from, not because she didn't like them, she just knew what was going on out there, and she was going to try to shield us if she could, but that wasn't going to happen with me. Those guys were my heroes. My dad's, his uncles and his brothers. My grandmother was one of my best drinking buddies. I'm going to tell you, this lady was one of a kind. She's passed away long when I was 23, wasn't long out of prison when she was, and I was drunk and high at the funeral, and that's just stuff we go through. But What a lady, boy. Just a little old lady from the mountains, and I mean, tough as nails, buddy. She drag race cars with them and fight with the best of them, and I'm here to tell you, she put a bullet in you, you know. And hey, I loved her, but you know, I can't do no wrong though, man. That lady, it was a trip. She kept me alive from my dad for many days. I tell you about those Saturdays. That's one thing that kind of lets you know the kind of job they were up against is every Saturday. You know, my dad, they were raised hard, farming. You know, they farmed tobacco, corn, that kind of stuff in Scotland County. And they didn't get a tractor until my dad had graduated, so he was a little mad about that. You know, all the other brothers got to ride tractors, and he was still using the mule while he was in high school. But so he was going to make sure his sons got to know the value of work, and so Saturdays was never a good day for Pat. Matter of fact, it wasn't a lot of good days for Pat because I don't behave on no day, but Saturdays particular, because at least school keep me from getting slapped for a few hours. You know, they paddle you at school, not slap your teeth out. You know, so. You know, Saturday morning we get up, he get us up about 6 o'clock. I already know the drill. It's not going to be good. He's got enough garden that would feed the whole county, you know, and there's 4 of us, and that's the reason it's so big is because it needs to be an all-day job, you know. And butter beans, man, are you kidding me? I mean, you couldn't put the beans in this room that this thing would grow. I'm like, what in the world? Somebody spray some herbicide on this stuff. You know what I mean? Thank God I didn't know that, or I would have. I'm telling you, I'd have sprayed it and took the calf killing that he would have given me and said, "That's all right. We won't have to do this again next Saturday." You know, but and really, that's the kind of guy I was. I mean, every Saturday it was like that. Just how hard-headed, and you weren't going to be able to beat me into doing nothing. You can't threaten me into doing nothing, short of killing me, I guess. But it would be, all right, boys, let's go. We're going to the garden. And every Saturday, I ain't going. Oh, you going? You know, every Saturday, I'm like, no, I ain't either, boy. Bam, here it comes. I got a lot of scar tissue, you know what I'm saying? And it didn't all come from when I got older and all those other fights. Most of it happened before I was 8, you know. And, man, and a lot of times Grandma would stay over with us, you know, and boy, she'd come in there, she's like, you know, she'd send Dad away for a minute, she'd go to talking to me like, come on, before he kills you, I'll do it. I'll pick the beans, you know, let's just go, you know, and I'm like, no, I fight it the whole way, man. He'd grab me by my arm and beat me all the way to that garden, but one thing he didn't do is get me to pick no beans. It's just the way it is. I wasn't going to pick them. I mean, you'd had to kill me. Grandma had me right there by the arm, right side by side, so she'd tap me on the mouth occasionally because I'd want to speak up, you know, and she knew that wasn't too bright, so just sit there, I'll pick the beans, and you just follow me around, you know. Every Saturday it went like that, you know, and just hard-headed. My brother, hey, right down to it, buddy, he just took direction, you know. Hey, this is what the deal is. We got to do it. Ain't no need to get killed over it, you know. He just did those things easily, and I didn't. And it's just like going up to my grandmother's house. That's always where I wanted to be, because that's where my people were, you know. I mean, they were doing the things that I was attracted to. You know, the sun starts going down, the bottles would come out, and some of that good homemade stuff, you know, from the bootleggers up the road, and you know, the guns would be out, and they don't ever let you down, you know. I mean, there's something going to go down with these guys. And I'll never forget, I mean, you know, of course, I run up there a lot during my drinking, but I'll never forget that little 5-year-old, 6-year-old kid. I sit on that pine tree and watch them guys get it on, boy. And I mean, they could get it on, and I mean, just what I call it, just really some beautiful fighters, you know what I mean? The boys was tough as nails. And I don't know, I just enjoyed being around that chaos. And my brother, you couldn't make that guy stay there. When it gets dark, he's like, y'all come get me, you know. And I'm begging, lying, promising everything just so I can stay into that craziness, you know. And just one of my early memories, I'll try to get past those, just some things that stand out to me that were big in this, that are telling to me when I look back. And one of my, early memories, I probably couldn't have been no more than 5 or 6. And my dad's youngest brother, actually he was an adopted brother so he was really a cousin. He was the only one that was still in the house, and he come running in the room there. It's probably about, I don't know, 10 o'clock at night. They'd already tried to tuck us away into bed. And he comes running in there, and he snatches me and my brother off the bed and, you know, kicks us under it and tells us to stay. I don't listen, you know. And so I remember sticking my head out like, what? Well, I got to see what's going on. And I see my grandmother right through the doorway, you know, running down the hall, and then, you know, right behind her was my grandfather, and I saw him just slice her all the way down her back. And I was like, wow. But just like entranced with looking at that, you know, my brother was petrified. He's 4 years old. I mean, I'm like 5, but I don't know. I just remember I was just like paralyzed by that. Like, what in the world did I just see, you know? And then, of course, the youngest brother there, he called my dad up there, and it really got ugly when he got there, you know, because he come with his gun, and he was very appreciative of his mom getting cut, and so it got pretty ugly, you know. But that didn't stop me. What I say is telling is I was ready to go back tomorrow. I mean, that just didn't stop the attraction, you know. Again, the uncles, you know, they always had some souped up Chevelles or Novas out there in the yard. They were racing cars, and, you know, always some women running around the yard, you know, and I like that stuff. I just wanted to be just like those guys, and so there was nothing going to stop that. That's what was going to happen, and that's exactly what happened. I turned out just like them. You know, you kind of get what you shoot for most of the time, and turns out it ain't all it was cracked up to be, though. You know, it ain't all the glitz and glamour of what I thought it was as a kid. And some other things, you know, during those early years that kind of stand out to me. You know, I'm not a big guy. You know what I mean? Fairly short, and I knew that. But what I also knew is you know, that don't mean I can't be tough, rough, you know, because me, that's what, again, these are my role models, so I got to be like those guys. And so that's kind of where, I mean, consciously, I made the decision to compensate by that with I guess you could just call it meanness, you know. Not that I did, I know I had a good heart. I was probably in more fights for folks getting picked on than I were just for the fun of fighting, you know. But, you know, I knew I had a decent heart, but it's like I consciously knew I had to be the toughest guy there, the meanest guy there, you know, to make up for my size, you know. I mean, that's just what I was going to have to do. And so that's what I did. And I mean, I had a lot of problems in school. I was scared to death to be in school. Didn't fit there, you know. Not that I couldn't understand the material. It's just like being in these places. Again, I'm comfortable under the pine tree watching somebody take a knife, you know. Crazy as that sounds, I felt okay there. That's where I wanted to be. I didn't like everybody sit here, be quiet, and listen to this teacher. I mean, I feel like, I got to go. You know, this ain't good for me, boy. I mean, it's just like I'd be coming undone. So I found out early on, you know, you act out a little bit, and they'll get you out of there. You know, you spend a lot of time in the principal's office, that kind of thing. A couple other little things growing up, I never did. I did okay in my grades, you know, but I had an F in conduct. I mean, every 6 weeks. We used to do this every 6 weeks. I'm bleeding, okay? It's just like that, you know. Dad's picking us up, let me see the report card. And of course, I done tried though. I didn't get mine, you know. He said, oh, everybody in Moore County got their report card but you. I'm like, I guess, you know. Yeah. Hey, I'm sticking with it, bro. Hey, for real. And of course, then he'd ask my brother, did you get your report card? He'd be like, yeah. Yeah, no wonder I stabbed you. But anyway, anyhow, it was, anyway, he'd take a look at that report card. And I mean, literally, most of the time I would have A's and B's and all my grades, and all he sees that F in conduct. And of course, my brother'd always ride in the middle of the truck, that old 3-big-seat Chevrolet he'd pick us up in, and because he knows that his little brother's about to get it again, you know. And so he'd ride in the middle and try to buffer, but somewhere between Aberdeen Middle School and our house on East Indiana Extension down here, you know what I mean? But that's all it was, you know. He'd wrap you back really good. All right, see y'all next 6 weeks, you know what I mean? He wouldn't stick with it, so I could take that kind of deal, you know. Used to love to hit rocks. Something else stands out. Just again, the kind of kid I was, just destined for problems, you know. I love to play ball, so hitting rocks, that is so big. My favorite bat was this, I think they called it a boom bat, right? It's this big plastic with the big barrel on it. I mean, you could hit some rocks with that thing, dude. It'd jump off there like a trampoline. And so my goal was to hit them from the road down to the garden, right? And because it's okay to be in the garden. And when Dad would cut, and he was all right with that for a little while, right? But then he'd start cutting grass, and his lawnmower blades would start hitting those rocks. And so he finally told me, look, don't hit no more rocks in this yard. You know, and I mean, I know he's serious, you know, but it ain't gonna stop me from hitting rocks in the yard. Hit rocks in the yard every day, every chance I got. And I was always trying to get them to the garden, and of course, some of them would fall a little short. And so I don't know, there's a little bit of time of that, slap, you keep hitting rocks in the yard every time he cut grass. So finally, this is again the kind of guy I am. I said, well, I'm going to hit rocks and I'm going to get slapped come grass cutting time. So my idea was I'm going to get a big rock and I placed it, where I know he wouldn't see it. And so I'm going to give him a real reason to be mad, right? So again, dude, what is wrong with me, man? I mean, come on. What is that like when you like to get beat to death? What is it, sadism? What is it? But I really don't like to get beat to death. I'm just hard-headed. So I put this rock, and it was a good one. And it was a good one. I knew this was going to do the trick now. I can usually do the job well if I decide to do the job. And so there's a basketball goal right in the middle of the yard, where we spend a lot of time shooting ball. But I know when he cuts grass, he has to go around the goal. And so he won't be looking. He'll be looking to make sure he's missing the basketball goal. So I put the rock right in his path there, kind of under the grass, but enough of it was sticking up that it was going to do some damage, And so here we go Saturday, I'm up there piddling around doing whatever he's asking us to do. This is in the afternoon when he used to cut grass there. He's going down the yard, boy. He's getting close to that goal, and the energy's up. And I remember looking at my brother was out there with me. I was like, Mike, listen to this. He looked at me like, what have you done? You know what I mean? And maybe one more lap. Bam! Dude, that thing sounded like a shotgun went off. It stopped the lawnmower, you know what I mean? It was, hey, just bam! It was dead, man. He come off that lawnmower quick, and didn't even it wasn't no mystery on where he was coming. You know what I mean? It was straight toward me, and I'm doing it. You know what I mean? Hey, I was pretty quick, but he was a good athlete too. So he caught me, but it was not because I wasn't running. I was running, And man, and of course I swore out I didn't do it, but I never did. Of course he knows now. I've told him in these rooms a few times, So I don't know what he thought about that, but I swore out I didn't just do it on purpose, I don't know where that rock got from. Well, I cut the grass last week and it wasn't there. You know what I mean? So anyway, I'm sticking to my story again. I don't tell cops nothing, okay? You know what I mean? Hey, I'm not doing your job for you. But anyway, yeah. So anyhow, again, this is just the kind of deal, and the drinking started pretty early. So I'll go ahead and get in this deal with my drinking because it's just like the rest of the men in that family, severe alcoholism. I was there when we found 2 of them dead, of those uncles that I used to idolize. And I was on up in my teens when we found, probably my early teens when we found the first one. Then I was in probably late teens, around 1920 when we found the second one. And these guys drink literally round the clock. They pass out, drink some more, don't get out of the bed. They piss in coffee cans or whatever's there. And they have the beer stacked against the walls in the rooms, drinking them at room temperature because the stomachs can't handle it no other way. And that kind of drinking. Literally, I know what it means to drink till you die. Not like I might get run over. No, they drink till they die. And I'm that kind of alcoholic. I have no control over the amounts of alcohol I take, and I never have. Very quickly after I started drinking, I took my first drink, around, my grandmother would give me a few sips, like earlier in life, probably for medication or something for me, but, like on purpose, I don't know, I think I was probably 9 or 10 when I stole those first 3 beers. A lot of you heard me tell the story, slits, old pool tabs, never forget it. I stole 3 from my dad at different intervals because you got to be smart when you're dealing with my dad or it's going to get painful for you. So I'd always try to steal the 3rd or 4th beer out of the 6-pack, and I'd stash it away, and I finally got my moment to go drink those 3 beers. And here's what's telling is, why do I need 3? I just want to try beer. I didn't think about it back then, like, why is that? But I'm wondering later on as I'm getting sober, I wonder why I needed 3. I must have knew one wasn't going to do it, you know what I mean, I guess. And so I remember drinking those 3 slits, and that first swallow of that beer, hell, I've had it buried under leaves and dirt, waiting to get my chance of drinking, so it ain't like they were very appealing to start with. But man, it was the most terrible thing I'd ever put in my mouth, it's just, oh, God, just nasty. I think I spit, but then I took another swallow. That's not normal, is it? Anything that gives you that kind of reaction, you ought to stop, And I don't even know what it's like to be intoxicated at this point, but so that's why I know for sure that I had disease of alcoholism when I came into the world. I was just waiting on the alcohol to get into the system to treat that alcoholism, you know. And so I don't know, I guess I intuitively know I need what's in that can. So I drank all three of them, don't remember anything fantastic about it, but what stands out is I knew after that is it's time to start getting three more. You know what I mean? That was my plan. I got to get three more hit up so I can do this again. On in, 11, 12 years old, drinking pretty regular. I'd have friends that their moms and dads weren't quite as strict as mine, and I actually chose my friends on that merit, not because I liked their values or anything. It's I could get away with things at their house that I can't get away at my house, and so I tried my best to get Friday and Saturday nights to stay at these different friends' houses, and we'd, their parents would be partying, we'd sneak some beer and stuff and start drinking. And that was in, middle school, 6th, 7th grade, we were doing that pretty regular. 8th grade, certainly more regular. By that time, I'd already, I don't know, your dad and them would get bottles of liquor. He was in business here over at Hamilton Beach, and, salesmen would send them fifths of liquor for Christmas and that kind of stuff. And, I remember those bottles being lined up there from when I was 10. I mean, the bottles would stay there I didn't start stealing them, I guess, to maybe 14. They'd been there since I was 10, but I knew exactly what was in that closet, And so I'd go pick one off here and there, around 8th grade. And then by the time I got to high school, again, now I was really big into wrestling. Coming up through baseball was always a big passion of mine. Love sports. That's where I felt comfortable at. I didn't feel so different out there. That's where I belonged, it just fit. It ain't like sitting in a classroom. That's where my skills seemed to fit better out there. And so those were my big things, wrestling. My brother's got me started once he got in high school, so I was probably about 11 or 12 when I got in that. That's all we did. Every weekend we were going to, Charlotte or Florence or all over the place to these wrestling tournaments. And it got a pretty good, pretty well known as far as when I was coming into high school. My brother was getting scholarships, for wrestling, and of course, I was going to smash every record he ever made, not because I said that, because I think the guy's the best that I'd ever seen, and because I know his heart, that ain't the guy you want to be messing with, because, I'm hard-headed. This guy you literally will have to kill. And I just love his heart. He's a good, good man, but he just ain't. I've never played with my brother like that. Now, I've thrown gasoline on him before and struck a match, but that's what I'm talking about. I don't play with him. Right. You better get serious if you mess with this dude. So anyway, that's another thing. We had very few of those moments. I don't want to sound like it's all crazy, but, I'd taken about 4 beatings that day, and I was through taking beatings. You know what I'm saying? So, and I went to tell my dad, I said, Dad, Mike's doing this. He slapped me. He slapped me and said, well, handle it, Gasoline can, okay. You know what I mean? Anyway, whatever, this ain't going to be good. But anyway, my big brother was really a role model for me. Very few of those things. That guy was tight with me. He tried everything he could do to kind of protect me. And even, I got kicked out of 3 daycares. I didn't talk about that before I ever even got to school because of my good social skills. I think my uncles are right. You're supposed to be rough and tough. And, I don't think hitting anybody was a big problem. They can stand up and hit you back. That's the way it's supposed to work. But so anyway, Mike would always try to jump in there and intervene and cover for his little brother. He'd tell my dad, that one started it, Dad, I saw it. And of course it'd all be lies, but he tried his best. He was just that kind of big brother. He'd always gonna stand up for me if he could. So getting into high school is when my drinking surely escalated. A little more freedom and here's where that fear really amped up, and what I know that drinking really alleviates is that self-centered fear. I'd learned to kind of navigate you grow up in the same school, you kind of got the same friends, you kind of know where you stand on the food chain, so to speak. That's the kind of mind I got, right, where everybody's at. And so I'm getting into high school, and I don't know where I'm at. I know where I'm at on the wrestling mat, and I'm first, But everywhere else, I don't know where I'm at. Now there's all these girls, and I don't think they're going to talk to me, but there's these new guys, and man, that guy's pretty big. I don't know if I can take him or not. This is the way I'm perceiving all of this stuff. Nothing about wonder how hard these classes are going to be. That ain't the kind of thoughts I had. Okay, it was how am I going to navigate this scene? And boy, you know, what helps me navigate that scene is alcohol. It always did. Boy, get that nice feeling that I want, boy. And you know, from early on in my freshman year, we'd be going to the store getting pints of liquor every morning, you know, and I'd keep them in the wintertime in my inside jacket, in the liner of my jacket, and just hit on that thing all day long. And man, I could do all of those things. I mean, I don't know whether I can beat him up or not, but we'll find out here in just a minute. And you know, I don't know if she'll talk to me or not, but here we go. You know what I'm saying? And matter of fact, I get a few more drinks in me. She's lucky I am talking to her. You know, it's done a complete flip. You know, I'm about this high. You know, this dude is crazy. Yeah. Anyway, and so. I always kind of the clown too, you know what I mean? I just love to have fun, you know, and because I don't want there's a responsibility involved in all this. You know, by this time you're supposed to be learning a little bit of that. You got classes to make, most people's making plans. I mean, like I'd hear the other kids, you know, my age, they were, you know, we're trying to take this English because what, you know, they're like mapping out a line to college, you know what I mean? And I'm on these scholarships that they saying I'm going to get, but always in my heart, you know, that ain't gonna happen. I mean, it's just something I knew that I was going to self-destruct and destroy myself. I just knew that internally. So play. If I always talk about, even with the guys, you know, it's real easy to know which decision I'd make growing up, because all you have to do is ask which one do I have to see is more fun, and that's where you'll find me, you know. And kind of like that song, I broke my parole to have a good time, you know. I'm that guy, you know. Crazy. Everything's on the line, and I'll do it anyway. And so, you know, really struggled. Started getting a lot of, you know, with that much drinking. I'm kind of the guy that don't behave real well when he drinks. You know, really, I don't know, aggressive, I guess would be the word. Crazy, you know. But man, it felt so good to be like. It just kind of felt like that was my natural state. Is when I was lit up. That's the way I wanted to be. I always kind of, it's like when I'm out with my uncles, I always had cut off blue jeans shorts and no shirt, no shoes, you know, knife in my pocket. And that's like the best, that's where I'm at home at, you know what I mean? So when I'm in that state, it's just I happen to be in the middle of a high school that don't quite fit, you know? And so I got clothes on, but I'm the same guy I am out there on that dirt road. And so anyway, a lot of trouble in school. Started skipping every day. I mean, just really the drinking was every day at this point. The coaches kind of protected me for a while, but I mean, it got to be too much. You know, just so much. And then finally, there was some serious type, you know, fighting, and people got hurt. You know, then we come back, and some more people got hurt. So finally, expelled me from school at Pinecrest, and. But always, it's like, dude, I was even scared when all that, I mean, it ain't like some crazy tough guy. I mean, I was a little dude, I mean, but I guess it looked crazy. You know, it was crazy, but I was scared the whole time. Every one of those deals until I get that alcohol in me. You know, that allowed me to be like those uncles that I was talking about earlier, you know. And they weren't guys that followed other people. They were the leaders of the crazy pack, you know. So I couldn't just be normal, run with it. I mean, I needed to be the craziest in the group, you know. And these folks, I mean, these are the kind of guys, when I start drinking like I like to drink, even those guys like, Pat, come on, man. You know, I get a little crazy for even the crazy people. So, you know, I forget how Harold puts it, but when you start getting rejected by the reject, you know what I mean? It's getting pretty bad. You know, again, now here's where it all went wrong. I started trying to get sober, so we'll go on from here. Got about 16 years old. First of all, I didn't have a license maybe a week before my first DUI. And now there was the second DUI within 3 weeks. And all sorts of little, like, I forget what they used to call it, like drinking underage per se, whatever that is. You ought to read. I'm like, what is that? Drinking a beer in the McDonald's parking lot. You know, that's what that is. And driving a car at 16 with no license. So with 2 DWIs. You know, of course, drinking wasn't my problem. None of that. It was always something else, you know. The police, they just picking on me, pull me all the time. You know, started really stacking up some trouble. And then, of course, I got introduced to some other things, you know. And it just escalated. You know, alcohol coupled with these other deals. And it wasn't long from, you know, 16 years old and a half, you know, like my sophomore year, into 1 year later, you know, I was kicked off the team wrestling, kicked off the baseball team, expelled from school, and looking at 70 years in prison in that 1 year's time. And so it's like, what I had knew to be true is true. I didn't know it was going to be like that, but I knew I wasn't going to make it. You know what I mean? It's just, I just had that feeling that this is going to implode at some point. And so, the attorneys figured it'd be a good idea to go to treatment. Now, before the first treatment, I'd seen a doctor around here, like you guys know, Dr. Clark. And my mom had pretty much begged him to help her son, right, because she worked with him. And, I'll never forget the first time I saw him, I was really expecting to get help, and not that he wasn't going to try to help me. My expectation was maybe this guy can fix what's wrong with me. I remember thinking that. And so as he's talking to me, we just talk, really easy guy to talk to, and that was strange because usually I fight everybody. I don't do real well with interrogations. I usually get belligerent, but not with him. There's just something about him, just real soft, and he didn't come at me in some sort of attacking way. So I don't know, I liked him right off, but I still see him now writing that prescription out. Well, I'm going to write you this, and I want you to go home, you take this, and then, once tonight, and then tomorrow. He was explaining this whole deal to me. And I remember going home and getting that prescription filled, and I'm like, I remember having that first pill in my hand. I'm like, this is it. I mean, this thing's going to help me. The doctors give it to me. He's a good psychiatrist, where he knows what he's talking about. And of course, he knew it wasn't going to work to start with. You got to know that part of it. He knew what I was to start with. I just did. He knew he couldn't jump on me with that. So I took that. It was antidepressant, right? That's what I was taking. Of course, they don't get you high, so I wasn't going to like it. I didn't know that, though. I took that antidepressant. I remember sitting there waiting for something to happen. I mean, I was waiting on for that, what I feel like when I drink alcohol. That's what I was waiting on. I was wanting some relief. It's coming. 20 minutes goes by, 30 minutes goes by. I never forget, I'm looking at the clock over TV. I'm like, I don't feel nothing, Maybe I should take another one. It seems to make sense to me. So I take another one, nothing, All right, so go back. I don't take no more then, but they didn't do nothing, So I go back to see him like a week later. He asked me how the medication's doing. I said, oh no, I ain't taking it. I said, I tried it. I said, it didn't do nothing. He said, what do you mean, do something? I said, I ain't feel nothing, doc. He said, feel? He said, hell, it ain't supposed to make you high, Pat, I said, well, either way, they didn't work. They didn't work, brother. And after the second time I saw Dr. Clarkson, when he told me, he said, I'm going to write you another prescription, okay, it was another antidepressant. He said, but son, what you need to do is come to these meetings we have at 7 o'clock here on Wednesday night. That was the day and the time and the night. I'll never forget it. And that was over at the Dartmouth Clinic over there. And I was like, okay. He's told me. He said, son, you're an alcoholic. And of course, that lie, I'm like, what? Now I'm dealing with a crazy dude, wow. I mean, I know some drinkers. Come on, bro. I mean, I got some uncles you need to meet. You know what I'm saying? You think I'm one? I got some real cases for you. But anyway, I showed up at that meeting. I went to that meeting next Wednesday. Now, Mom's on it, son. My mom is on it. What he said, well, we're going to be at the meeting. You be drunk all week if you want to. We go to this meeting. And so I go to the meeting, and, I'm sure I was 16 still at this time. And of course, I get in this room, and it seemed like the next oldest guy was like, I would have probably guessed to be 45, 50. Old. Okay, they were old, and I'm in this room as a kid, and I'm surveying this deal. I'm like, wow. I don't know why I'm here, Why, how you doing? I don't know, yeah. So anyway, I go through the meeting, just knowing I'm in the wrong spot. This is crazy, these people, alcohol, this, that, and there's. I'm like, wow, these people got problems, you know what I mean? And so I told Mom, right when she come, I said, Mom, I ain't never go back in there again. And you can't make me, I ain't going. And so that was my first introduction. Of course, okay, when the 70 years come along, though, my attorney, I do have a little bit of sense. So, the way he laid it out for me, he's like, Pat, we need a defense, and we don't have one. You know what I mean? So treatment is going to be your best option. So, boy, I fought that thing. But anyway, went to my first treatment there, and I just turned 18 by the time I got into this first treatment center. So that would have been 88. And Chaps, Koala up in Durham. And man, I was jacked to the moon when I got there, son. I mean, I went to treatment like I thought you're supposed to go to treatment. I was way out there. And of course, matter of fact, I think they said I had the highest limit, which I remember them saying that, not like I'm bragging, but I remember them saying that, tripping out on the blood work, you know what I mean? And so they took me immediately to the medical ward, right? And I tried to stay at that medical ward because I like the medical ward. You know, I can do treatment if they keep handing me pills that make me feel good. You know what I mean? Hey, now this is what Dr. Clark wasn't doing. Now y'all, hey, these people here's got it figured out, you know? And so I was wearing them Librium out is what they were, you know. I was like, how you feeling? Like I need another one, you know what I mean? Hey, I am not doing good, man. And I'm coming down. And I'd wear that nurse out, you know, like day 2, boy. And I could, hey, this nurse that was on second shift, I could really, I done had her number, you know, shoot the crap with a little bit, talk about I tell her some stories about grandma out there in the country, you know, so I had her around. I'm like, look, I'm for real, I ain't doing good. I wouldn't even know when it feels, you know, just to help me sleep. Just to help me sleep, you know what I mean? And I got her to fold on me a couple of times, but boy, here comes this little counselor. Oh, I wanted to kill this lady. About that tall, red-headed, her name, Pat Sullivan was her name, you know, she was one of the counselors, I mean, buddy, old school drill sergeant, so she could come up to my chest, and I was little, you know. I heard her come stomping down the hall that I think it was the 3rd day I was there. I mean, coming down the hall. You give him another damn pill and you are fired. You know what I mean? So we just raised it. You know, and she's coming closer to my room. Boy, she busted in that room. She said, we'll be in group at 11 o'clock. You know what I mean? The gravy train's over. I'm like, oh, this ain't going to be good. You know? Oh, again, 70 years. I ain't a total idiot. So I tried to play a game, and this stands out to me in that first group. You know, I saw a few guys there that looked like my people, you know, the uncles. Got the old biker boys, got some beards, and some few of my good rednecks over here. And I said, all right, now, this is all right. We get in this group, and next thing you know, the roughest one of them all, I thought, starts crying, you know. How are you doing today, Steve? I said, oh, hell, you know. I mean, I'm telling you, this stuff shocked me, man. I'm like, what did they do to Steve, you know? You ain't getting Pat. You ain't getting me. I'm telling you, man, I was scared of these people, but they've done something to this dude. I mean, they done something. They drugged him. Hey, something wrong with Steve. And anyway, I was not attracted to group therapy, you know what I mean? So about 23 days into that deal, I got kicked out of treatment for using while I was there. I had a guy bring me back something that had left early. And of course, I swear up down, I ain't done nothing, but you know, they've done some more lab work. And it said, well, it's higher than it was when you get, you know, this particular drug was higher than it was when you got. So anyway, I was, but they were kicking me out of that treatment center. What they were doing, they had me a plan to go to Hazelden. They thought I just needed a longer stay. You know, somebody needed to be with somebody for a little longer. I didn't think so. They thought I needed to be in Minnesota for 6 months. Turns out it was Hazelden, you know, and so they laid this plan out for me. I mean, they sold it to me like it's done, you know. Like, look, plane leaves at 2, your mom and dad's on the way, they're going to pick you up at 1. I ain't going nowhere. I'm going home, you know what I mean? I was just, what? Y'all just wasted some money is all I can tell you. You know, I'm not going to. Oh, yeah, you going. We got the plane, everything's secure. I ain't going. And then I didn't go. You know, I went, boy, they tried their best to get me on that plane to Minnesota, but I wasn't going to Minnesota. I was going back to Southern Pines. And that was the first treatment, okay? Got some intensive probation. That court date was unreal. I was drunk while I was there. No way this could turn out good. Hey, God is big, I'm here to tell you. And that guy's been with me the whole time. I'll tell you, somebody had to have been losing out because he spent a lot of time with me, man. I mean, it's just things that I look back on. It's like, how did that even happen? That's just crazy, you know? And it didn't stop from there. I mean, it was really about to go downhill, you know. Multiple treatment centers. I was in my second treatment center, which was Day by Day in Selma. Maybe a year after that, you know, there was so many, like 3 of them before I ever turned, you know, 19 or 20. And I remember going into Day by Day begging to be there. I mean, I knew that this thing was severe. I mean, I was really not medically well, even at that age. I mean, they had to rush me to the hospital while I was detoxing. Blood pressure had gone up like 220 over what, and I was walking out, and I'm like, what is the deal? You know, they calling 911 and tripping out, you know. And turns out I'm about to die, you know what I mean? I don't even know it. Blood pressure is about to stroke out on them up here. But, you know, a week into that thing, just like all the next 4 treatment centers were, or 5, or how many ever. It's, I get some food in me, get some sleep, and about 3 days later, I'm well, you know, and now I'm no longer in need of your services, and I mean, I'll stay, you know, but I'm thinking about my own plan of recovery, not the one that you're trying to offer me, you know, and I need to get this back, I need to get her straight, I need to get just always thinking about my own plans on how I'm going to get this thing together, because I never did buy into this disease concept, you know what I mean, and that's a big deal to me today, and a big part of my passion of professionals is teaching that stuff, because that's a real big piece of information I was missing, and it really would never put clear to me. So I really try to clear that up for guys, because I think you need to know what's wrong with you, like, so I can accept it to my innermost self. And this is the kind of stuff that does it. I was getting a master's at Hazen when it really clicked in, like, damn, that makes sense. You know, what that guy's describing to me explains exactly why I did what I did. Not that I'm a weak guy or a bad guy or this. I mean, it just made so much sense when I finally got that explanation. Now, not that I needed it to get sober, because I had started that journey several years before. But I never did buy into that's the point. And so, of course, I'm not ready to take any of these steps you're talking about, nor that I think they would work. So why would I take them anyway, right? But I just need to get my act together. It's just like my dad said, you can do it if you wanted to. It's time to get your act together, you know, pull yourself up and let's go, you know, get to work. And by this time, I'd had a son born. That wasn't good, you know. Lord, I think I got out, finally went to prison, you know, and at 21, this was probably already after a few treatment centers. I just wasn't going to get it, you know. I wasn't going to listen to what you was telling me about me and what I needed to do. I always knew what I was going to do, you know. I was making my own plans, always. And that's, hey, I think Harold put it to me when I was in the Samaritan colony the last time. I had a great deal. I never forget, I run in there, I found a loophole in the inventory process, a reason why I didn't need to do it this way, you know. And he just sat back, he's like, wow, that's pretty good. You know what I mean? Did you think that up by yourself? And I said, yeah, I was proud of it, you know. He said, man, you done a lot of thinking about that. He said, Pat, what you thinking? You are talking to a fool. He said, and that fool is going to kill you, okay? Now get out of my office and go do it like we told you to do it, you know. So like, I don't like him, you know what I mean? Anyway. But what made that all work with Harold, and always was, is I knew Harold loved us, and that's why I let him, you know what I mean? I would accept whatever he had to bring to me. But, you know, so long through this deal, I mean, it got really ugly, and I'm here to tell you really dark. And man, why can't I ever get a little quicker? But it's, you know, the pain that my family went through in this whole deal, so many sad days, as we all know about these days, you know, from 17 on, I mean, some really dark times, and did some crazy things, and toward into my late 20s, you know, back to several more treatment centers there, kind of my mid-20s. My first time at the colony was in my early 20s. I mean, I'd make several efforts, and when I can't stop. I cannot stop, okay? I got to be put somewhere, and that's just the truth. It don't matter how hard I try to hang on, about 48 hours, 72 hours is the best that Pat Hill's going to do, and that's just the truth. I'm here to tell you, I have given it some good shots, and I just feel like I'm going to come undone. I must leave. You know, it's just not like I can make it. So I have to be put away in an institution to give me an opportunity. So I appreciated every one of those treatment centers for that reason. I knew I needed to be there. There was never no question of that. And so all of these, you know, these years passed through my 20s, lots of trouble with the law. I mean, my God, that thing runs to the door, you know. Couple house arrest bracelets. My dad poured so much money on top of my attorneys and court fees. It's incredible. I think at 22, and believe me, he kept track. It was like 88 grand when I was 18, you know. So he was keeping track, and this was way after that, so there's just no telling what total that come out to be. But they just kept trying, and, you know, getting on into, I had to go to Cleveland, cut a couple house arrest bracelets off. That happened to be first one I cut off, Dad told me that cost about $800. He says, the next one you cut off, if you could drop it by the house, I appreciate it, you know. And so the next one I cut off, I put it on his front doorstep, and gone again, you know. Assaulted my probation officer. That's when I decided it's time to move to Cleveland, and had my uncle pick me up in the Roses parking lot. Very next day I was off to Cleveland, you know. And the same thing up there. this is when it really started getting early after my 30s, just what had happened that I give up on life. And again, this is just in such a dark place. It's scary to me now. It makes me sick on my stomach when I think back, and I'm a visual person, so when I tell this stuff, I kind of see it and feel it again. And it used to be tough to get through because it was just so bad, so ugly. I was dead inside. I knew I had mom and dad that were crying every night and trying and begging, but at least I could be, when I was in Cleveland, I didn't have to see them cry every day of the week. And so I come back, and because I do some stuff up there, and now I got to leave Cleveland, right? Everywhere I leave is because the law is looking for me. So now I'm back down here, and when it all really come to a head is 2006. I got some kind of divine intervention that morning, and I'd already went to see Harold at the colony. My dad took me out there, and he laid out all these deals that I was going to do if I come back through there. But man, I was ready to do those things. Had to make it a week, didn't make it a week. Make a long story short, I was out there again, and next thing you know, on that morning to get into the colony, that's when something happened to me. You don't know what happened to me, I don't know, other than God intervened, and I settled down long enough to call my dad and get him to get me there that last time, and that's when everything turned. That wasn't my sobriety date. I really wish I could do better about getting through this whole process of, it's just been such a long journey, and that's when I started listening, I guess. That's when I started taking notes in that class versus thinking I was listening. I could hear it and see it so clearly now, and got a sponsor, never had one for 20 years. All the treatment centers, we're never going to get a sponsor. Been to 500 meetings probably, but we're never going to get a sponsor. And that's how many times I've been through, not like I stayed a long time. It's just, I finally got that sponsor, man, we got those steps, and that's just where it all started coming. I mean, I used to be so excited about working those steps when that got to be my turn to work with my sponsor, and crazy, good God, I was crazy. I mean, this guy always, look, Pat, you can't talk to people like that, okay? This is how we do it here. All right, listen, that's not how we do it, Pat. We do it like that. I'm like, well, that's how I do it, Well, that ain't how we do it, okay? So all of this stuff. And man, I'm just watching new people and learning how you're supposed to navigate conversations and have disagreements without nobody getting hurt. Those things were big to me. I thought there needs to be a winner in all of this, There really doesn't have to be. Just so many things I was learning, and of course, got the opportunity to go get education. I felt just like I was compelled to do that. I don't know what that was about. All of the doors just started opening up. I'd heard Nancy Davis speak one night. She was talking about Hazel, and I was about maybe a year into school, and I'm like, it hit me again. I said, I think I'd like to do that, So I kind of made the path to do that. And a couple more years later, Harold Pearson had sat me down, talked with me, and asked me if I would like to take over his work at Samaritan Colony. I can't even, I can't even tell you how incredible that is. It's just like, wow, if I could pick it, that would be my job, And I just love the place so much, and I respect him so much, just like next to my dad, Harold's, that's the guy I want to be, that kind of guy. Just wants to, always constantly want to help others. I'm not that guy. I want to be that guy. I'm certainly better than I used to be, but I'm not there now. But I know where I'm going to get it here in Alcoholics Anonymous, just every day trying to grow, make mistakes all the time. Hey, I'm an extremely fallible person, right? But hey, I know if I stay here, as far as I've come, and it don't seem like I'm come very far some days, but I know I have, it's all a result of this program. So many people help me along, and here, there's so many good people out there that I would have never got a chance to meet because fear would have run me out the door. Every little obstacle I run, right? I go get drunk. That's my way. I'm a coward, That's my way of running. It looks like I'm living this crazy life that you might be scared of, but the truth is that's where I'm comfortable at. It's kind of like throwing the rabbit in the briar patch deal. And but I couldn't run no more. I had to learn how to live with you guys, and of course y'all guys are the easy ones to live with. I've always felt comfortable in a room of alcoholics. It's when I'm out to dinner and or in a church, or these are the places that I feel like I'm not quite fitting, and but you got to fight through those things, you fight through that fear. I know I can be who I am, hanging out with Steve a lot, getting to know him. What a cool deal. I get to learn, and that's when I see people that lets me know it's all right to be me. We can live by some principles, but you still be who you are. You know, just try to be a better me. And I don't know, I could talk all night, and I normally do, but we don't have but an hour. We don't have an hour. But I really couldn't share to you the gratitude. Beautiful people like my wife Jackie. I mean, I don't get to be with people like that. You know, it's just oh man, you know, so much better for knowing these people and getting to learn how to have a relationship and make a lot of mistakes in that too. But hey, one thing we ain't never lost is respect for each other because we know where our hearts are at. And hey, I just want to keep coming back, and I appreciate you guys having me here.